Hello back guys to a new awesome video. This is part 20. Oh yeah, you heard me right. We are at the 20th video of this series and there's not much more to go, honestly. We still have a few things to learn, but we are almost close to creating our 3D model and our 3D scene. So this part, well, the videos I'll do for a few parts at least. It's gonna be about texturing. So we will finally bring life to our train, which is why I said that it's probably the part I enjoy either the most, either it's up there with the modeling, because it's the part where you really kind of make all the scene come to life. You make everything look the way you want it to look, and um, yeah, there are gonna be a lot to talk about and a lot to show you. So let me just say this: if you somehow are not subscribed, please subscribe. Don't miss out on all this cool content and all this good information. I think it will help you along your way. So I think you should, click that subscribe button. Doesn't hurt and it's free. Also, you can click the like button if you're still doing that, and also leave a comment. Tell me, maybe you don't want to do this texturing, maybe you want to do something else. What would you like to do? Also, a thing that I was actually super curious about: what do you guys want to do 3D for? It's just a hobby? Do you actually want to get into some industry? Just leave it out in the comments. Tell me what you want this for. Like, what's your dream? And also, please, if you want, share this video so that all your friends can see this and maybe get into 3D as well. So, with that being said, and this is the moment we get into the video. Alright, just a little interruption right here. So before you actually start the video, I just got one thing to say. I don't want to keep you guys all the way till the end of the video to actually know the secret that this title is referring to. So what really happens is, right, you can see the picture right here, right? This is a render I made. It's a render that I made for the thumbnail of this video, as you can tell. What happens is, the big secret, right? I tried to render this, and it took me an hour and a half to figure out the problem because my laptop couldn't render the image. We're talking about this image, and I got really confused because, again, I did this train scene once already, and it had no problem then, and apparently now it has one, and I was very confused. And I started rendering only one object at a time, and it worked perfectly until one object, and this is the cylinder you're seeing over here, which is the main cylinder. So I got very confused to why is that, and honestly kind of scared because I was like, oh, don't tell me I have to remake that because that would be crazy. Um, and I took the main cylinder, put it in another Blender file just to find out it works, which made me even more confused. And what I did find out is right now our camera is super close to the main cylinder. I think it's a camera with like 360 millimeters. Uh, if you don't know what that is, actually let me just, well, this is a Blender 3.6. Let me bring a Blender file just for a second there. Alright, so here, when you select the camera, right, you go here and you have the focal length, which basically will tell the camera how close should it be to the objective. Like, this is the zoom, basically, right? And right now we're super zoomed in and very close to the main cylinder. And what I figured out later on is that this had a subdivision surface with adaptive subdivision. And because of that, and because we were so close to it with our camera, all these parts here were detailed like crazy because again, it's a level 2 subdivision with adaptive subdivision, which again, what it does, it's subdividing the geometry in accordance to the how close it is to the camera. And because the main cylinder is so close, it had to do that. And remember, by the way, this is not cut here, which means under this, it had to also do that. So yeah, that's actually pretty unfun. I think you guys should know that in case you try to render stuff and it doesn't work, just take that into consideration. It might not work because of that. So yeah, that was it. And now let's go to the video. All right, here's the exciting part, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you were waiting for this one so bad because it is basically the most interesting part of all, and it is texturing. Oh yeah, we're finally at a part when all these models will actually get to look exactly the way we want them to look. So I think that will be interesting. So let's actually select this plate because I need, before I tell you guys anything else, well, actually not here because it's not gonna help me. We're actually gonna go to the shading tab. I think you remember this tab. I did show it to you before. We did talk a little bit about a principal BSDF and some of the nodes you'll find there, or actually some of the functions that the principal BSDF has, and the ones we're mostly gonna work with. But there are a lot more to this. So as you can see right now, this body right here, right, the plate has a texture on it, which is the UV test texture. Um, Now, if you remember the first time I told you about this whole tab and you know, the whole materials and textures and stuff, uh, there are more ways to texture a body, right? If you ask me, there are 4 ways to texture in Blender, and those would be the procedural texturing, which basically what that means is I'm gonna give you some few examples very quick so that you kind of understand. We'll work with all of them, but just let me prove those real quick. So for example, right now the body is white because the base color is white. So let's actually change that to actually like a yellowish stuff. Get the metallic up, the roughness, let's just put it a little down. We'll make a little bit of a gold looking material, and we can also decrease the value a little bit to be a little darker like that. Pretty good. And actually one no, I wanted 0.15, sorry. All right, that's pretty cool. And let's actually add a noise texture. So oh, I don't have the screencast, do I? Of course I don't, because I always forget it. Screencast, and there we go. Now it should be good, and we are. So if you press Shift A, you will have a tab with a lot of functions. If you go up here, it's gonna be a tab that will be the one we already know to add objects and stuff. But if you're down here, actually, let me just pull this a little bit. We have a totally different menu now. Personally, I don't ever remember where anything is. So, you know, uh, you could, I mean, it's pretty easy to kind of figure out because, you know, you have the texture, so you have the ways to texture and stuff. But I just think you just press Shift A and then you just go to search and you search for whatever you need. And with Blender 4.0, I don't remember if Blender 3.6 and the other ones previously had this, but now everything you search last is gonna be the first one that appears. So let's actually put in a noise texture. Again, this is just to show you kind of the power of the procedural. And Control T, like I told you before, just if you have the Node Wrangler add-on, you need to have that clicked on so that Control T does this for you, brings you these 2 nodes. Good. So having a noise texture, the way we can preview a node, right? Like, I don't want to see how it looks with all these. I want to see only this side how it looks, right? You press on the node you want to see, and then Control, Shift, and left click, and you will just put it right into the material output. And now we can see exactly what this node is doing. So look at this. If I increase the scale of the noise, it's going to affect our body, right? And the same with the roughness. Same thing with the detail. The lacunarity. I always get that wrong. I don't know why. I think it's too. The distortion as well. So yeah, you could do a lot of stuff. Now, there's something else we can have. Also, you can choose more ways. Usually, I select it on 4D. It's almost the same thing. The only difference really is that with 4D, we get also a seed value. Basically, everything stays the same, but just it has random inputs with each time you know increase the seed value. So just to look different until you find the value you actually like. Look good. So for example, we have this. That's pretty cool, right? But let's add one more node, and that node is one of the most. So you will use noise texture a lot, and this node right here that I will show you, it's probably, I would say, the most used node in the shader tab, and that is the color ramp. I could be wrong, but I think it is the most used. And you basically get a tab with some shaders, and you know you could be a little bit afraid of it, like, oh, what's this doing? Basically, what this does, right? So you have a value which in our eyes right now is like black and white. Basically, what is represent? It's number 1, which is white, and 0, which is black. These are you know, like the values that these really go. And if I add one more, it's gonna be right in the middle. This is, you know, gonna be like 1.5, 0.5, sorry. And you can see also the position. It says it's a 0.5. And now if you put this into the base color, you know, and actually see this, this doesn't matter. Like, we don't care about the whole value stuff because, I mean, why would we? It's just, this is exactly what we see, the colors. But we can also use this to influence the other nodes that the principal BSDF has. For example, we can take the color ramp and put it into the roughness and then plug this in, and let's see what happens. And look at that. It is a very matte color, but also very shiny parts. And if we increase the black value, right, which again represents the 0 value, right? And basically this is like where the roughness is 0, and this is where the roughness is 1. And if we take this up, it's going to make the more of the 0 value of the roughness more apparent than, you know, the 1 value of the roughness. Also, you can press on the color right here, and then right here, and we can change the hue and the value itself. So we can actually go, you know, down, and now it's not matte. This is not 1 anymore, right? Like, this is somewhere in between, maybe like a 0.5 of the roughness. You know what I'm saying? So this by itself, like, look at it. It looks like it's a metal that actually has some imprints on it and stuff, which is pretty cool. We can play a lot with this kind of stuff. And as I told you, like, if you go to the texture coordinate, right, we have a few outputs, which is generated, normal, UV, object, camera, window, and reflection. Now, I'll be totally honest, the ones you will use the most are gonna be generated, UV, and object. So UV, I think kind of all of you get what it does. It's going to just, you know, get the UV map that we've created and apply it to our body. The reason this didn't take it, right? It's because it doesn't really matter. Yes, we do have, if you'll see right here, we actually Oh no, we did we had a smart UV project on it. So we do have the UV unwrap on this one, but being a simple body and also, you know, just procedural texturing it, it is just gonna be a generated over the geometry kind of material. This is, yeah, this is the cool thing about procedural. First of all, you can play around with these nodes and change the whole look of your object. Like, you can get to some insane stuff, and I'll try to show you some examples, some images that I pull up from other artists. I'm gonna write their names there, but basically, like, you can have some pretty amazing stuff going on with just procedural itself. Because, and here's the cool stuff, let's take this noise and not just affect the roughness. We will duplicate with Shift D this node right here, right? And take the noise texture, plug it in, the color ramp, right? And let's actually make this back to 1 and get the color ramp. And I want this to affect my normal. Now, to affect the normal, if you just plug this right into the normal, it's gonna work really badly. Like, this is horrible. And the reason for it is because this is basically not reading this. Like, it doesn't know what it is. So we can just have either a normal map, right? Like a normal map vector, which plugging that in would help, but not immensely. Now, what we usually do use in these cases, right? It's either a bump map, which I'm gonna put right here, or displacement map. Now, there's a small tweak when you use the displacement. So if we use the bump, all we do is get the color ramp, put it in the height, not the strength. That's where it will go if you go automatically. But you want to go to the height, plug this into the normal, and let's wait for the and look at the result. Yes, it's going to look a little ugly because of the lighting and all, and also because the strength is too big. Now you can modify this from two parts. So either you go with the strength lower, and look how cool this looks, for example. I really like it at least. Or you can also decrease, you know, the distance. Here really is kind of what you prefer. I honestly kind of prefer to use mostly the strength, but it depends. But yeah, no, you can get like super cool stuff. And here's the cool thing about the bump. This right here looks like there are deformities on it, right? But guess what? There's no geometrical shape that's being deformed. So basically what that means, this is almost completely free of using our GPU. Like, our computer doesn't need to compute this thing right here, because it's basically just an image. All right, these are like some 2D stuff that actually it's like an image that kind of makes it look like, oh yeah, there's, you know, deformities and actual you know, damage on it. And you can also, you know, play again with the color ramp for you to get a more interesting result. And you can also animate this to make it, you know, like a super gold, nice looking stuff, and then easy but surely get into some this deformity stuff, which is, I would say, pretty cool. Now, there's a second way you can do this, right? Where you can play with its geometry, but here's the difference. If you get this color ramp, again, you plug it in the height of the displacement, but you don't get this into the normal. You actually have to plug this into the displacement node. Now, this is a little different than what the other one had. And actually, let me, okay, we are in cycles. That's good. There are a few things you have to do. You have to first go to the material, to settings, and make sure that displacement is not set to bump only, but to displacements and bump. And now we can actually play with our displacement. I don't think we have enough geometry, and I don't think we have, oh, we do have a subdivision surface, but it's just a 1, so it's not gonna do too good. Because it needs, there's a thing with displacement, so basically it is the same thing, but the difference is, this is actually using the geometry to deform it. So if we add more geometry to it, let's make it a 3 actually, it's gonna look better. It's gonna make it look much better, but the problem is, you need to understand that using displacement means you do actually affect kind of the geometry of your body. This will use our GPU. This will be a little more you know uh, requesting of our computer, but basically it gives the better results. And we don't usually use it for this kind of stuff, right? We use it for like moments when we try to make a terrain, right? Because for example, you could do that. So let's actually add a plane. All right. I'm going to simply subdivide it by like, I don't know, 15 or something. And we have this, and we can also add like a subdivision surface, right? With the value of 2, and then deform it with so either we deform it with a displacement here, because I wanted to show you something else and I almost forgot. Right, and this now, so here it is. If I take this away, this will actually change its shape as well, and the look of it is gonna look way different, right? Like this is there. This is a little different from the bump map. All right, the bump map, yes, it's better for your system, but the displacement map makes things usually look a little better, a little more realistic, and we kind of want that. Also, that I also showed you, for the terrain stuff, you can put a displacement, and now it looks like crazy. You don't have to do this. We'll get to this towards the end because we will make a terrain. But basically, what you do is put like a texture on it, which is like a cloud thing. And actually, let me do something like this. Let's say, actually, let me make it 0.75. All right, and not the mid-level, but decrease the strength and play around with the strength however you see fit, and get whatever you want to get, right? So uh, it's almost like whatever you feel like this should look like. Um, it doesn't really matter. You can also come back and play with this more. It's really up to you a lot of the times. So this is a little bit of how displacement works, of how other stuff can be done. And yes, this is all procedural. And the cool thing about procedural, as I told you, you don't need UV maps necessarily for it. It's just going to be based on the geometry of your body. It's going to kind of generate it, like we have right here, based on what we give it. So actually, let's get the displacement. Okay, we don't need a displacement. I'm not gonna really use displacement that much because I just think it's very requesting, and I think bump map can do just a fine enough job for what we need. Now this is too much, and again, this was just to show you stuff. So we're going to delete all this because this is actually, so that was procedural. You can do a lot more stuff with it, not just that. Like again, you can use all the textures here to basically create materials, and pretty cool ones at that. Also, all the things up here, like the color values to change them, and the shaders. I will show you every single thing, but we're gonna get there. But it's cool, trust me. Procedural work is really cool, but again, we would still need, even if we do this procedurally, you still need the UV maps for when you actually want to bake your textures at the end of the process to basically move those textures into another program, or if you want to sell your assets. All right. Um, Good. All right, so basically, this is the second method that you can use to give textures to, well, any object in Blender, really. This is basically just putting an image over your textures. And let's actually try to do it with like a generated and show you the difference. So if I do this, it looks horrible. All right, it's just going to look absolutely horrible. If we take the object, also horrible. The normal, I mean, it kind of tells what it's going to do. The camera, the same. I could try, the camera gives a nice effect, I'm not gonna lie, but it doesn't really matter. It's still not good. Uh, what we do use in this case, when you use an image texture, because what it does, right, it's basically taking that image and trying to put it where you have the seams. So basically, we have, for example, the seams on the corners here, right? Like this face, whole, it's a hole, right? It's gonna take the image and put it on this face. And if I take the UV and get it right here, that's how it's going to look. It's gonna look amazing because it is unwrapped, because it is made specifically for that. And I kind of want to show you, actually, let me just get here and say metal plate. And I think I took this one before. Actually, let me take this one now. Uh, this is, you shouldn't do this. I'm gonna show you some sites as well for where you can actually take your stuff. But let me save this quickly. And now, let me actually just take this a little bit out of the way and, you know, have a image texture, Control T, and go to open. And now go to wherever your image is saved. And for example, mine is this one. It's right here. Right. So by taking a simple image of the internet, right? You plug this into your base, and this is how it's going to look, which actually looks pretty awesome. Let's be honest. This is pretty cool. And for example, right? Again, you can make the roughness even less or more if you want to. You just can play around with it tons and tons of times, and I think this is quite great. This is looking pretty impressive already, right? And what you can do is actually control it also from the mapping zone. So what that means is, for example, this, right? I want the image with the whole bolts to be up here. So if I go here and scroll all the way down, I'm just going to increase this and look at it. I can see it now. I can see this. And now I can go to the Y and, well, not the Y apparently. I think it's the X, yeah, the X value, and move it upwards. Now, I mean, you have to just kind of play around with it, more or less, to get what we want. But yeah, apparently we can't get exactly that. At least, not like that, not that easy. But I think you kind of got a point. Like, we can play around with this stuff. And I think that's actually quite awesome. And actually, yeah, we could be getting that. Ah, great. Kind of about there, more or less. And you know, just you know, I should actually pull the Y like this if I really wanted it to. And now, this is what I was talking about. Like I can do this, for example, right? And it looks like it's made of more plate. But this is what I was talking. What the image basically does, right? It takes the image, puts it on, and for example, right? It's in this case going to repeat it. We tell it put it flat on and repeat the image. For example, we can take the image and extend it. This is the same image, and if we actually go to 1 and this moves back to 0, this is the same thing we got in the beginning, because now it extends. When I will pull this, instead of repeating itself, it's going to extend itself till it's just a big stretchy texture. All right. Usually we leave it on repeat, and that's why you need the UVs, because it will repeat itself, and we don't want to see where it repeats. We wanna kind of hide those repetitions. And you can also hide those with something called layering. And a lot of you can ask what layering really is. Well, when you create, actually, let me bring forest, because this is maybe one of the best ways to understand. So here, for example, right? When we talk about layering, we talk about actually details, which is what we did our model as well, right? So when you look at this picture, for example, why is it looking so realistic and so nice? It's because it's not just one thing that you see, right? You see the trees, but it has some muscle on it. Also, you have all the dead leaves around and grass, some green grass in between, and a little road with some dirt and stuff. And basically, you have the dirt, then you have the grass, then you have the leaves, then you have the green muscle, then you have the trees and the green leaves as well. And basically, that is like layers after layers after layers. Also, this is actually even better because it's things over things, and basically it's what we talked about with the seams, right? When I talked about the seams for my wagon, and look at this, I changed the material because all of them have the UV test right now, and I'll be totally honest, this already looks awesome. This actually looks so cool. And this one actually looks so good as well. And don't forget, it has the problem that we are scared of. But yeah, no, this material is absolutely good and super impressive. I was not expecting that. I love the train this way. I might actually make a version of it just metallic like that because I think it looks awesome. All right, so uh, that's what we did with having the lead, but the lead had to have a flashlight. Also, all the tubes around, all the bars around here, the ladder from the cabin, the you know the wagons. They had to have these little rims around them, and the big windows with the whole thing. These layers, for example, the windows are a layer that will hide the problems that the wagon has on the inside. The wheels might hide the problem we have on the cylinders, and so on and so forth. And we don't use layers like this just to hide imperfections. We also use these to basically add that realism that usually it's missed. But yeah, so this is another way. This is, in my opinion, well, the way I kind of use the most, or the second most, because here's the deal. This second way and the third way I'm going to show you right about now uh, are more or less the same thing, but there are a few things about it. So let's take all these and delete them. And now we have a golden train, and actually I love this so much as well. That's actually super cool. Uh, all right. Um, let me actually. All right, the third way we can do this, right? Again, this is gonna be more or less introductory, and I think we will do like a few objects now, like super simple ones. But after it's gonna be the next episode that we actually get to totally, put our work to good use. The third way, which again is kind of similar to the last one, is by using add-ons. Add-ons in Blender. But you cannot actually just take them like that, all right? So we have the add-on created by none other than Blender Guru himself, Andrew Price. And his add-on is called Polygon. Polygon is a very, very cool site. Yes, it has a site. You have to make an account. And it does have subscriptions. But there's a cool thing. You can make an account for free. And you don't have to make a subscription. They have actually things for free. So you actually just write free. You have you know, like a lot of free assets, materials. You know, those are all like scanned. So the detail on them is incredible. The geometry is not gonna be the best, but if you want to just create like an animation or a scene, those are amazing to do, and it's really easy. You just import them, put them in your scene, and that's about it. And yeah, the materials are also absolutely fantastic. Oh my god, I swear. Uh, the materials are absolutely fantastic, and I use honestly Polygon for most of my stuff when I'm not creating my materials and stuff. But usually I do kind of use these a lot. Like I'm not a big texture guy. I don't create a lot, at least not in Blender. So yeah, you can do this. And let me show you how that works. Right? Let me go to, I don't know, this cylinder right here, right? The chimney, or the chimney head rather. I will go to my downloaded stuff right here, and I'm gonna pick, let me actually say metal. And it's gonna show me more metals that I downloaded. And for example, I want this a little bit, you know, discolored metal that has some rust on it. All right. So just have the body selected, and then you have to download if you don't have the material downloaded. You can choose what resolution it comes in, right? So that's pretty cool. And then apply with 2K, for example. And here it is. This is absolutely looking great. Come on, this is actually great. So when you do this, right, it's going to show you something pretty scary in the Notes tab. Uh, I'm not gonna stay and explain everything here because it is a lot to pack, and honestly, even for me, this is a lot. Like if you enter these notes that they have here, it's a lot. So this is what I'm saying. This is more than just an image texture. It is image at a very high quality, but it's also like a lot of work behind it to actually get the material to you in this manner, and this is pretty cool. And you have a lot of options to, you know, play with the scale, the color hue, the roughness, the bump strength, a lot of it. And yes, you see it very well. This has a displacement. Most of the materials here have a displacement, so you know, look for that. But yeah, this is pretty cool. You don't have to change a lot of it. It usually looks very good. I usually play with a contrast, kind of, and maybe with like the color ramp, just because, like, you know, I'm going to increase sometimes the contrast a little bit to make it a little more prominent, and like the brightness and stuff, but not a big thing. But let's say we don't go with UVs because this looks so good just because it's UV'd, just like an image texture, right? If we go to generated, yeah, not not that great. It still actually looks much better than I expected, but it's not a complicated body either, but not too good. And if you go to object, it's also not gonna be a super good result, right? Again, not the worst, but for example, we see a lot of stretching here, and again, this is with a very simple material to begin with. Not material, sorry, object. So let's go back to UV. And here you can see it looks absolutely fantastic. Here is the seam. Like we can see the seam from here, but when you go to the camera like this, there's no way we see that. So, you know, there's a lot of what ifs. Like, what if I don't want to use it? Well, you can not use it, but why would you do that? Now, this add-on is not the only one that you can take, right? Another add-on that I use quite a lot is Blender Kit, and it's one of the add-ons that I so recommend. I will probably make a top 10 add-ons that I would recommend you guys to get, but Blender Kit is probably Blender Kit and Polygon. I would say both of them are in the same category, so I'll put them exactly in the same place, and they are amazing. You can get HDRIs, scenes, materials, brushes, so many things, models as well. And if you go to materials, and let's say we search for metals, they're going to show up to you. And again, you just click on it and it's gonna be applied. But just like with Polygon, you need to have UVs. And yeah, that's really like, how you use this. Um, it's not that big of a deal, which is why, uh, well, this is not exactly like a beginner thing. This is a little more complex. This is a lot, but that's why I'm going to stop right here. Like, I'm just gonna show you that you can do this, but that's kind of about it. Because anything else, like if I try to, uh, tell you the differences and like show you how, because for example, this alone, I think it looks super good, right? But I personally think it would need a little more attention. Like we could add some mixed shader nodes and stuff, and we can play with the nodes more to make it look even more interesting. You can do that. And actually, if you will watch Blender Guru's tutorial, he does advise everyone to do the same thing. Like, not just don't just take the texture, play with the texture. Add again. We're talking about layering. Put more layers on top of it. Makes the body more interesting. Uh, and yes, this is kind of going only if you make like a realistic body. And I'll be honest, if you don't make a realistic body, I think you should really go procedural. It's a little easier, and I think it's way better for you to get exactly that look that you want. But talking about the look you want, so again, I'm not gonna get too much into this. This is gonna be for maybe a different series where I'm going to go into more intermediate to advanced level stuff, because this is more complex. Again, this is already not a beginner thing, but I think this is easy. I think you can understand this super easily, and it's really useful. I think you really should use this method, at least in the beginning. So, with this being said, sorry, I don't know why I keep saying without. Let's actually deselect this and put our actually not the UV. I should make a new map for this one, because we're going to do something crazy. We're going to get an image texture, click on new, and this is gonna be, let me see, um, a texture paint. All right, let's play with the resolution. Let's make it 2K. So to do that, you just scroll down. This is basically how it goes. So it's gonna be like, 1024, and then if you multiply this with 2, it's gonna be 2K. If you multiply with 4, it's 4K, and so on. Let's make this a 2K texture. All right, and press OK. And now take this and plug it right into the principled BSDF, and also Control T it to have the UVs and stuff. That's perfect. Great job. And now, with this body being selected, go into the texture paint. And this is looking quite a bit aggressive and quite a lot. So, by pressing the dash to have only our object here, we can, sorry, I went in the tab for a second there. Okay. Now, if you go into edit mode and press A, we can actually see our UV map of this, right? Like up here. Well, we don't really care about this right now, but it will remain there, so it's better for us to see it because I want you to see what's going to happen. This is the fourth method of texturing in Blender. Again, I will not say this is like super technical per se, like, oh, this list of 4, because again, the second and the third texturing methods are more or less the same, but more complex. All right, the third one is way more complex than the image texture, but again, the results can be great in every single one of these methods. So, texture paint is something I did talk about, I think, in the last video, when I said that a lot of people will take super simple geometries, especially of characters, like in League of Legends, for example, and hand paint over them and make them look absolutely gorgeous because they put in that super cool detail and stuff. Yes, there are more stuff in there, like big normals and stuff like that. But the main thing that makes that look so crisp and so nice, it's the texture painting on it. And what this is really, we're gonna do a little bit of texture paint as well, just to show you. Because you can use the texture paint in a lot of ways. But you basically just have this, like a canvas, right? And you can just paint on your body. And look at this. This is gonna show up also over your UVs, on your texture. So for example, if I will draw a line right here, we will actually find it right here. This is this same line. And if you don't believe me, let's go with more of it. And how about that? There we have it. This is the thing. We are basically painting over, we can paint instead of here on the body, which I like to do because, you know, it's easier to see, over the UVs. So that's pretty cool. Again, we can do like a line over here as well, and there we have it. Now, this being said, this is not the only thing. Like, yes, you can just paint random stuff over just to add details and stuff, but this is not the only thing you can do here, right? What else you can do? Well, let me actually pull this in. You can actually go to your tool, which is your paintbrush, sorry, and you can add textures on it. I'm not gonna do this right now. I'm going to do this when we'll actually use it for this. But you can add textures to add like rust on stuff, or to add like I think I use it also to add like some crease like, or no, some worn leather to a belt and stuff like that, and to give it, you know, that interesting vibe, to give it a little more of a punch, you know, for your texture. And I think this is such a cool thing to do. And For those that maybe have or can afford, I think a graphics tablet is amazing for this kind of stuff. I recently got one for my birthday, and it's kind of a game changer if you're looking to get into this. So if you look to get into sculpting and texture painting, a graphics tablet is super cool. But that being said, I had a mouse all this time. So all the time I did Blender, kind of up until I started this series, I did not have a graphics tablet, and I did just fine. It was more than fine. Yes, it's a little more work. Yes, you are a little more limited, but it is absolutely fantastic. And you'll be surprised, but some people that actually do texture paint prefer the mouse. So, you know, whatever, whoever wants, it's your choice. Um, Right, so these are the methods that we're going to use. There is one more method. There is a fifth method, but not in Blender. All right, so that's why I didn't mention it. That's why we're not going to use it. It's to use basically external texturing programs. Maybe some of you are already familiar with these programs like Texture Paint, not Texture Paint, sorry, Substance Painter, which is a paid program. So there's that. You have to understand that you will have to pay for that one. Um, but there are also, you know, programs such as Quixel Mixer, for example, which is a free program. Um, and I think there are a few others. I can't really remember the names right now, but I'm pretty sure when I was searching for like texture programs, it was, you know, kind of kind of there. Why would you use those? Well, to be perfectly honest with you, and again, I do love Blender and I make all my works mostly in Blender. But programs that, you know, kind of are 100% doing textures are incredible about it. So again, with Blender, you have to understand the nodes and the workflow with your shader nodes, which it's not that hard necessarily, but you know, it's still kind of over the hand for a lot of people. However, in like Quixel Mixer or Substance Painter, you work with layers. For those that use Photoshop, it's pretty easy to understand because I guess you guys also, are used to layering and layers and how those work. And that's basically what they do. And I would say they do get a little bit of a better um, end result, at least in my case. I'm not too good with texturing, so that's why. Those help me out quite a lot. They have better materials already in there. And again, we talk about layering a material to make it look more interesting. Well, that's where it's easier to do. But we're going to learn how to do this here as well. So, there's that. No worries, we will do good. And let's actually take our friendly cylinder up here. We're not gonna do too much to it because this is already a long video. Yes, I mostly talked, but I wanted to, show you what we're going to do, show you what you're going to learn, and also maybe, help you find a little more ways to texture in Blender. Because a lot of people might not have known about these add-ons or the image texture and how to do it. And I think that's, useful. All right, so actually, let's take no, the UV test should remain because that's its whole thing, and the metallic should go down, and this is 2.5 here. And let's save, please. Do not forget to save. And the reason we have 75 materials. No, we don't have 75. Sorry, it was just the UV. Basically, when you press on a body that has this texture, it tells you how many bodies from this scene use your texture. And right now are 74 objects. And yes, it does count them duplicates as well. All right, so let's actually take the cylinder. And this is a copy, so we have the original UV test and this copy, and we can just call it top cylinder. Right, like that. And let's actually delete this, and I pressed, I think, on backspace. Okay, so we are going to start from this. Well, we should take a little bit of a look at our references, and the reference that we got this from, it's actually our reference, the one here, but this is made of plastic, so, not exactly the best one. I would actually like to go for something a little bit like this, with like, the snow on top and so on and so forth. And yeah, I'm going to show you a little bit of magic that Blender can do. So let's actually first make this, like the red that we saw there, kind of like this, but I'm going to just darken it a little bit, kind of like that. All right, the metallic, I'm gonna make it a metallic body, so push that there. And maybe the roughness about 0.25 should do. It looks pretty good. We'll see if I like it or not. All right. Up till this point, we're doing pretty fine. Now, let me introduce you to a geometry node. And I'm gonna show you something. And also ambient occlusion node. All right, so um, we can add um, again the layers on this color, because I don't think this color all by itself looks too good, right? So a good question would be, how can we make this actually look good? Well, first, actually, before we use this, we could add a noise texture, with Control T, and actually use our UVs for this with a color ramp. I was not seeing that. All right, and Control Shift left click to see what we have. Let's scale it pretty much like a lot. Let's go with like a 150. Get the roughness to like 0.70, 0.75. Okay, and the detail to like 5. I think it does a pretty good job. All right, Let's change this to 40 also. And take the black value a little bit up. Like, let's have a little contrast, right? The closer you bring these two, the more contrast they're gonna have. So let's gonna have something like this. Let's see how this will look. So what we do want is take this noise texture and everything and Shift A, bring a bump. This is one of the most, used thing I have. So just plug this in the normal, Control Shift left click, and this is gonna look pretty horrible because again the strength is big, it's up, and we don't want that. We want it like super hard to notice. So let's actually move this a little more incremental. So somewhere around there, like a 0.03 was pretty fine, and it just gives it a little bit like this, a little crispy material. You know what I'm saying? Like it's yes, it is a material. I can see it's shiny and all, but it's just giving it a little more of that crisp to it. All right, now talking about the bodies I brought here, right? The geometry and the ambient occlusion map. Well, they are more or less supposed to do, well, the ambient occlusion is not exactly going to do the same thing with the geometry, but they can. So what I'm trying to say by that, right, is the ambient occlusion. So what that does, right, it's basically creating or simulating those soft shadows that happen from like indirect lighting that affect your scene, and basically creates those small shadows into like the creases, and it brings your it basically, um, for those that don't understand exactly, it's like those shadows help you get more detail to your body, and helps us a lot in that manner to add like that soft little shadow that kind of tells us a lot more about the scene. Now the geometry node can be used in way more stuff than this, but it can also help us a lot into basically recreating more or less the ambient occlusions node, you know, function. Sorry. But to see what these do, we have to go into the render mode. And when we do go into the render mode, we won't really see a thing because there's no light. Unless we do have some lights. I set up some. Right, so what I was saying really is, so the geometry, no, actually let me get this out of the way. I was just trying to show you what they do, but I have to first tell you something. Um, so to test these out, right, you cannot see these in material mode. All right, so if I'm bringing this back, you see nothing. Nothing really happening, and the reason for it, it's only working in a render preview mode, and also it's only working if you are in cycles. If you try to do this in Eevee, it's not gonna work. You can try to go to cycles, set this up, and then go to Eevee, and when you do the baking at the end, you will have the material as it is. But here's how they look, right? So if we go to preview mode, and again, you need to have a light setup. I have a light setup, or just a light to see kind of how it looks. You know, it doesn't have to be any crazy thing. And the geometry node with the pointiness and the color ramp, right? Uh, when you do the color ramp, this is what you get, right? It's mostly a white body, nothing too crazy. What the pointiness does, it's, well, what it kind of says, emphasizes the sharp edges, which, so if I get the black more and more forward, you will see that the white kind of only stays where the sharp edges are. So actually, let's get it up to like more or less here, and you can get the white up, to emphasize it even more, and something like this, for example. And if you would look in my original train, I do use this method a lot to do the snow, to basically show where the snow is on my materials. But there's another method to do this, and one that I think is actually better. I did not use it last time, and I think that was a little bit of a mistake. And that's the ambient occlusion. As I explained, the ambient occlusion shows you kind of the soft shadow that your light, oh sorry, that your indirect light will basically apply on your body. So this is what we get, and you have to actually let the white where it is, and just with the color black until you know are pretty thankful with what you get. For example, kind of about here, let's say. And this is what I get, right? Like this looks by itself pretty cool. And yeah, we can use this as masks. So again, we can leave the black there and just play with the white one to create more contrast, right? Because that's pretty cool. And by using this, we could get some detail. Now, how am I saying that this will be used as a mask, you might ask? Well, the way I do it, right? I'm getting another principled BSDF. And yes, this is definitely more complicated than a beginner tutorial, really, but I do think this get your texturing to the next level, because this lets you put those super nice details and those little edges that may be a little bit grunged or a little bit wear down, and it just gives it that super nice vibe. So you would have a mix shader node. Just write mix, choose the mix shader, put it right between our node and the material output. We would have this, so the ambient occlusion as the factor. What the factor does, right? Basically, the factor is how will this affect the two shaders. So we have shader A, let's call it, is the one where we have the color and all that crisp, like right, like this. And then shader B, which is the other principal BSDF that basically does nothing. And let's actually turn this to white, and let's get the saturation to 0 and the hue, I think the hue 0 as well. Yes, perfect. And that's what we get. Because of this, having exactly this shape, when you combine these two by being masked with this ambient occlusion, that's what we get. We get the exact thing we are looking for. We are getting a very beautiful, not snow-like necessarily, but two materials that go on top of each other perfectly, and there's a very nice transition as well, and all that good stuff. Now, there's a problem here right now, right? Like our snow-like material is metallic. So what do? Get the metallic all the way down, because this is a non-metallic body. Roughness will be actually greater. I would say maybe 0.75. But you can play around. You can make it totally totally matte. And it would look, actually, let me apply the denoise. And yeah, one thing to help yourself in the viewport, when you get to cycles, you have at the sampling the viewport stuff with the viewport samples. This basically, so cycles, what it does, it takes more samples of your image and puts them together to basically render out your final image. And basically, to get there, what you need to do, well, it's this, basically, right? Like it's the moment where you have to understand that usually this comes at like 1024. And the problem with it is that when I move this, this has to render again. So it has to put 1024 samples to give me this image. And if I move it one more time, it's going to do it again, and so on and so forth. But that's why to move a little faster in Cycles, because Cycles is much better in terms of lighting and stuff, but than Eevee. But you know, you have to wait way more. So get this to 100 in my, this is how I put it usually. And it's gonna work pretty well for just previewing how this looks, right? And this right here looks pretty okay, right? And the cool thing about this is we can actually use this as we want. Like we can modify this just like we modified all the other stuff. That being said, we can add another noise texture, right? Like right here. And Control T, you know, have a color ramp also. Yes, this will have, in case you're wondering, this will have a bomb material because Snow does that too. Snow has that crispy stuff about it as well. Let's move this to 40. Get this up way more actually. Well, very not that way more. Just like a 100. Let's see if this works fine. We'll have a better detail though. So this one is gonna be like a 9 and a little bit like 7.5. Good. All right, so let's actually also have a little bit of a contrast between the two. All right, good. So we take this value, put it into a bump map. And there we have it. Actually, sorry, to the height. Then there. And right here. And now our snow actually, you know, looks a little more snowish because it actually has a little bit of a geometry. And let's put it to 0.2, and I think this looks pretty good. And that's cool, right? Like this looks pretty awesome. All right, so now, for example, right, what we do need to do is actually pretty simple stuff, right? We need to make this, it's not just, yes, snow in reality is just white, more or less, but we are not in reality. We can still play. Yes, I do keep saying, let's make stuff realistic, but play with it. It's your moment. And actually, that's why I love texturing so much. This is the part where you can just play around with what you want to have. So what I'm saying is, yes, you can have the white value right here, but instead of black, we could have like a bluish color. Oh, something of the sort. And we can turn this to constant. And actually have a mix of the two. So we have the white and the blue, but I think I will want a little more of this. So yeah, maybe something like this. Maybe this is way too much. Let's just desaturate it way more. Maybe somewhere around there. It doesn't have to be that obvious, but you know, just like little sparkles like that. Those are the details that, you know, make the difference. And this is kind of a small thing you can do with procedural. And because again, this is a beginner tutorial. I kept saying this, but this is because I went in like a way more complex stuff than I should have, honestly. I honestly wanted to do more like just put a color, you know, maybe a noise texture, and that's kind of about it. But I think this is really taking your textures to the next level, and I think it's fine for you to know. I don't think it's that much information over your, you know, everything we have, and this is mostly what we're going to use to create those snowy, textury stuff. And we'll add some more things to make it a little better. But for now, at least, I would say this material looks pretty fine. I would say it looks good. So, yeah, this is this right here, and also we can have the plate which we deleted, and we can have, yeah, this is from a connector. We are not gonna use this. Apparently it's not even loading. Oh yeah, right, I'm still in render mode. But again, actually let's use this material because it's just not used, and delete these, and make it, what shall we make it? Maybe a golden one. I don't think yellow, I don't think red goes with anything really that much better than yellow, if you ask me anyway. So yeah, let's go to like a little darker like that, a metallic, and something around there. And for anyone that thought, hey, I think we should have some noise texture, you're right about that one. Again, basically this is what we're going to use. This is, in my opinion, what we could, this is the basic I kind of use for my materials to just make them look, at least in my opinion, pretty nice and good enough. And again, you can use this kind of methods in mixture with, you know, uh, image textures and add-on materials, which I do recommend. I think it's a good idea to try them. I think you should try them, because again, they are actually super nice. They're actually super good, and I think they make a whole difference. Um, it's just a matter of if you want it or not. This is gonna be like super, fine detail, and 4.5 here for the roughness, for the detail, and actually for the roughness we go to 95.95. All right, and this is really just trying stuff out. Again, I'm not a texture guy necessarily, um, but I just like to play around with my materials until I actually find what I want. And let's put this back into the height. Let's get this into the normal, and let's see what we get. Well, we get something we can't really see, do we? All right, and let's actually get this, way down. This is too much. Maybe a 0.05. Let's see. It's good, but let's actually make this 1.15, and this 0.02. It's a little better. We have a little bit of detail around here, but it's also way more shinier, which is personally what I want. And this is how it also looks now with the material. Again, the ambient occlusion will move because it's the light, and also it's the shiny material behind it. But now if we go back into render view, and don't forget to save, moving back and forth between renders might actually, make your Blender say, you know what? This is cool and all, but I can leave. Thank you very much. All right, so having this, what shall we do? Get this principled BSDF, duplicate it, and also have an ambient occlusion. You're right if you thought about that. And then a color ramp. Perfect. And now let's see what this gives us, or rather where it gives it. We want it maybe kind of around there, right? Like it's, this kind of around here should do. Even though if you see this, it wouldn't really make that much sense because that one doesn't have that much snow around there, so it's a little bit like, so yeah, actually let's pull this back just a little tiny bit. More like this, more like a very, fine, tiny detail, kind of like that. That should do. All right. So, again, mix shader nodes. I'm using a lot of mixed shader nodes lately, so I just realized how important they are, and they're pretty important. and also pretty fun if I'm being totally honest. All right, so we have this. Now we can also duplicate these. And actually, let me take a new noise texture just because it's a little easier to play around with. The factorial and the color gets in there. Okay, everything is cool. Now, let's see what it gives us. I think this can do to 100, 4.5. 7.5 here. Shall we do a little more of this? Maybe 120. Okay, and make it 40. Again, the 40 is just for like seeds and stuff. It's not like a big deal necessarily, but it gives us a little more options in case we want it. So I get a bump way right into normal, and when we preview, well, not this, but this really. Oh, this also goes here. No, no, thank you. We will actually, if you still want to do that, we will do exactly this. Okay. All right. And it's doing it, but I think the ambient occlusion needs to be, you know, better. It needs to be a little more applied. And yeah, you do have to play a little bit with it. So there's that. But this is also kind of, you know, a little bit in our way. And we have to make it just a little tiny bit more saturated and go constant with it. You know what I'm saying? So now you can also go like this. And yeah, you can actually now control it from like here. We can make it totally snowish. No problem. We don't want that though, do we? And let's make this, I think it was a point. Wow, why did we use it for the other one? Um, yeah, a point 2. So that's actually called it plate. No. Oh, I just switched. Right, sorry. I just switched the material, so this one now has the exact material with this. And as you can see, because I changed the ambient occlusion on that one, it also affected the material itself. Because, you know, we changed this. And again, here you just have to play around with it, have to see where you want it. You can also go constant and have it, you know, way more rough, if you ask me, but I don't like that. I would actually like it with ease. So linear and ease, the difference between it is that ease makes a little bit more of a, you know, path between one color to the other. It's a little of a softer go, while, you know, linear is more or less just going from one to the other. And this one, oh, we left this metallic. This why it was looking so weird. I was trying to figure out what's going on. And let's make this 0.85. I don't think I used a 0.85 there, did I? I used point. Oh, is it 1? Okay, actually, yeah, let's make it 1. And yeah, this is kind of it. this is the gist of it anyway, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not necessarily all there is to it, but it is kind of the point. It is kind of what you can do with it. And you know, now you have this, and you can just, you know, play around with it a little bit and have your fun with it. I think this looks pretty interesting, pretty cool. And then you can go here. It's going to look different, so don't worry about that one. But yeah, um, this is gonna be it for this video. I know you probably want a little more, but I said a lot to explain, you know, all the not necessarily technicalities, but all the methods we will use. And I just wanted you to see a little bit of the power of the procedural, you know, materials, and also kind of what we will use, you know, on this on this journey. Um, so yeah, we will continue from here in the next one. Let's get to the outro. Alright, so this is it for this video. Yeah, there was a lot to explain there. I'm not gonna lie, there was a lot of theory rather, just for you to kind of get a little bit more used to, you know, how texturing works, what are the methods you can use, and I am sure maybe some of you heard of some of them already, but you know what? I think it's pretty interesting to actually have them and use them, and I think it helps you guys out to know what to expect. And the reason I'm saying that is because the image texture ones, again, the image texture and like the what was it? The add-on textures is more complicated, but they were game changers for me. And also the ambient occlusion thing, same. Such a big difference. And shout out to Kaizen tutorial for that, because that's where I got that information myself. So yeah, thank him. And more than that, I thank you guys for sticking around till the end of this episode and actually sticking through, with me through this journey. And you know, supporting me and helping me out. So thank you. This is kind of it for this video. Please don't forget to leave a like, hit the bell, hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed already, and also leave a comment. Tell me what you think. Tell me what would you like to do, and if you will apply your own style to the materials, and also which method do you think it's the better one for your style. This being said, that's kind of all from me, and I wish you guys an amazing day and an amazing rest of the week. Bye, guys.